Yo, what's up guys? My name is Lucas Casper. I'm a mural artist that's living in Melbourne, Australia. I sort of realised how hard it is to access information on spray paint and where to start, what to do, what mistakes not to make and everything. So I thought I'd just do like a crash course video on the basics of what I like to use a bunch. You don't have to follow directly after me, but if you're really starting up, this might just be like a nice starting point to realize a few of the basic little things. The first thing you probably want to run through is the type of spray paint that you can get. So every country is a little bit different. There's some more popular brands, like for example, right in front here you see some MTN 94. Ironlaks are sort of a little bit on the lower end. They were pretty much like the holy grail back when I was a kid. I actually started with a whole bunch of sort of terrible spray paint, to be honest. I started with like fiddly bits and exports. You get them from Bunnings, they're like cheap as chips, and I was just a broke kid. I lived in Queensland, a small little town in Queensland. I had no idea about any of this stuff growing up. They're basically spray paint made by artists for artists, every single color range you could imagine. For example, just to start off with, I do like 94s. It's a low pressure can. The color ranges are incredible. There's so many colors within it. A lot of colors you sort of wouldn't expect, some more subtle variations between them. So if you're painting realism and stuff, like 94s are really great. You know, if you want to do a pupil or something like that, it's, you know, you're not chasing drips the whole time. But it's not the best for everything. Sometimes if you want to do like big fades, there's different cans. So these ones just here, ones I'll show examples on, but if you have like a local graph shop, whether you're in the US or wherever you're at, you can just ask like what's high and what's low output, because like for example, these loops, these are high output. Some of them literally state it, with, you know, you're lucky when that happens. Like these flames, for example, this one's a low pressure or a low output. You can see at the front here, it's blue. The high output ones are orange. So some of them are a bit more straightforward than others. Usually with spray paint, if you end up in an actual graffiti shop, the more expensive it is, the better. Usually, you know. But if you're starting out and you're watching this video and you're just learning the basics, you probably don't need the best. Like I started with horrible paint. I wouldn't go that way. I definitely start with something from like a graffiti shop, so you can find those around. If you just search it into maps like graffiti shop, street art shop, maybe even type in one of these brands, something might come up, because you'd be surprised. I've traveled all over Bali, Thailand, Vancouver, Alaska, all over Australia, and no matter where I go, I always can find access to these things, surprisingly enough. But that's like the general cans. I'll go through the brands. Loop, high pressure, really nice colors, like their yellows and their brighter colors that are usually shit in other ranges are really nice. MTN 94s, really good, low pressure, matte finish. The UV resistance great, so like over the years it maintains really well. Ironlaks, probably not my favorites, but back in the day they were pretty good. They're reasonably affordable. I think they just bumped up a bit more in Australia. The graph shop I go into is mentioning something about like a supplier change. I don't know what's going on with these. I don't really stick to it too much, but they're alright. I like flames. Flames are sick. Low pressure is usually the way that I go, but the high output's really good if you want to do like long, big fades. And then there's one take. I haven't painted much with one take. This is literally just a random can I grabbed from the stash I have back here. I think my pal from Japan actually like left this with me when he flew back. It's like a fluorescent purple. I don't really use fluoros either. So I don't have much to say on this, but this will just go to show you how many brands there are and how it's hard to keep up with all of it. But really the most important part is how you control these things. And the way that you control them is by using caps. So unlike the paint you find at a hardware shop where they have the wick, these ones don't have any wicks, so you can plug the caps in and you can get different outputs. I got a whole bunch of caps just here, I'll show you. I'll start with my favorite. These are my favorite caps. So right here, this is a cream skinny. This is the MTN cap. It's actually very similar to like a more sort of mainstream cap, which would be like your Montana level 1s. Level 1s are green. They have a little gray on the front. These are about as skinny as you can get, as controlled as you can get, and just a reliable cap. So they're not going to block up on you heaps. Definitely a good go-to, especially if you're starting out and you want to like avoid being annoyed the whole time. Start with these little guys, or honestly, like the best little trick is when you go into graph shops, if you just go to the front counter, most dudes are pretty nice. You can just approach them like a skate shop or anything else and just ask for like, what's their skinniest cap? They'll probably pull something out. They may even pull this out. And you can start with those and get a bit more control to begin with. Then there'd be the second cap. These are some favorites for people too. Banana skinnies, bananas, whatever you want to call them. Yellow little guys just here. They got sort of a different shape to the level ones. Sort of similar, but less rounded at the top. You get a bit more output with this. The circle's a bit more level. Bananas are really sick too. So when I go through these caps, these might be like a couple that you might want to buy to begin with, and then see what they feel like, and you can pick like what your favorite is. Then there's blue dots. So you get this little gray guy just here, the blue on the top. Blue dots are awesome. I know a lot of like stencil artists that use them heaps. Their output with misting's really nice. It's like sort of medium to high pressure, but you really can control them if you figure it out well enough. But if you're looking to like mist on spray paint on things, or you're looking to create fades, these things are awesome. Then there's New York Fats, really, really popular cap. Yorkers, New Yorks, like whatever you want to call them. Everyone's got a funny name. They're good for like flare tags and flaring out your colors. They're also good to get a skinny lines too. So the reason why I say flare tags is that's when you write your name, you go up, you pull away from the wall, and it flares out and gets bigger. I like them for line work like that. That's how I use them these days on lines that need to get fatter. And then there's the last one that I got here anyway. These are called pink dots. Pink dots are a fat cap, like an ultra fat cap. These are really great for filling in like huge areas. I'll actually pan to a mural that I did in Wodonga where I started using some of these. Obviously the size of this fish was gigantic, so I needed to really have some like fat caps to fade from one color to the next. So I chucked these pink dots on and I basically just blasted upwards in that direction. There's a way to sort of tell what size these caps are. So it's not always super accurate, but it's sort of like the generic way you can get a general idea. Right in the middle of this is like a little circle. That little circle has a cut in it. So it's not going to be all the way around, it's going to be cut out. Basically, the fatter the cap is, the larger that little circle is going to be cut out. So if this thing's like cut in half, it's basically going to shoot that much paint all the way through and outside the cap. So that'd be like a much fatter cap. The skinnier cap, the smaller the cut's going to be. But that's the basics on spray paint and what I have at the moment. There's a few added extras. Things I would suggest. Back in the day, I thought I was too cool, never wore a mask, and just going out painting and stuff, it just never sort of came up. But if you are painting, especially indoors, outdoors, anything, just wear a mask, man. So I have a proper respirator. I picked this up from eBay, I think. Reasonably cheap. It's got the nice sides on it, so you can breathe through these and remain nice and safe. The other one is stencil caps. So this is probably not relative to anything like beginner wise, but if you want to start getting like hair follicles and tiny little details, you can use these guys. This is a stock sort of lid on a shitty can of paint, and what I've done is I've cut the back out, I've drilled a hole in the center, and then I've basically just plugged that onto the can, chuck your cap in the back, and you spray through it. That's how you get tiny little lines. I actually did a full tutorial of this not too long ago, so if you want to check that out, you can just look at the video up here. But yeah, I'm just going to get stuck straight into using some of these caps. I'm going to show you how they come out a little bit, and you'll get a general idea of how they work.